Hey, it's Birdman for Birdman on the Mountain. I'm at Blue Ridge Unified School District office with the new superintendent. You've been here how long now?
7 months.
7 months, Mr. Roloff. Roloff. Okay, what's your first name again?
Jonathan.
Okay, so Jonathan's hanging out here. He's taking the helm and heading into things, and the first thing you get to do is introduce a bond, huh? Trial by fire.
Yeah.
Let's clarify, first of all, a couple things. When people hear about schools going for a bond or going for a override, they don't understand. They just know more money. Bonds can apply to what?
So bonds, if you look at, they're the brick and mortar. They're everything that is a long-term brick and mortar type item that will last our community for 10 to 20 to 30, hopefully longer years.
Okay.
When you talk about an override, you're talking about maintenance and operation. Those are things, the biggest thing that comes out of maintenance and operation is salaries.
Yes.
And so when you talk about salaries, so if we talked about maintenance and operation, this is different than the bond. So the bond is the facilities, the big ticket purchases.
Yes.
The maintenance and operation, which is an override, is separate. You're talking salaries. You're talking things that are consumed.
Right.
So papers, anything else you use in school, papers, pencils, markers. But the biggest thing is salaries. And so with an override, you would talk about salaries, which is also adjacent to class sizes and class offerings like electives, AP classes, and how right now the state only funds half-day kindergarten. So they expect the community to pay for the other half-day kindergarten.
Okay, so just real simple though. So bonds, what we're going to talk about has to do with the big items, and we'll delve into that. There's going to be a study session, and there's four categories are going to happen during this study session, and that is tonight. Okay, so we're recording this on Monday, I know. Tuesday, tomorrow, it's Tuesday night at
4 p.m.
4 p.m. Now, this is a study session. A study session, just so everyone out there understands, under open meeting law, you have a study session, which means they can get information, they can make no decision. So this is the beginnings of conversations, and it's done in the public, so the public understands what's going on. So months and months and months from now, when you guys have a vote during a board meeting, it's not, oh, well, we didn't know anything about this.
Correct.
This is usually what happens, is people are like, well, I didn't know anything about this. Well, we want everybody to know about this. You're not hiding this. This is an open meeting. It's been already published out there, so people know that it's there. And the information given out during the study session will be available after the session. So if people have questions, they can come in, ask for a copy of that, get the information. We're going to go through, there's going to be 4 parts to this 1 hour meeting. So when does the board meeting start?
So the regular scheduled board meeting starts at 5. So we have to adjourn our study session and start our board meeting at 5 o'clock.
Okay, so 4 o'clock they're going to do this. They're going to have an hour to do that. So yes, the public does have the ability to ask some questions, but you're not going to be able to ask in-depth questions. I'm going to give you a better way to do that here moving forward. So listen through the episode and you understand. So first thing during the work session is going to be what? Who's up first?
So the first thing is going to be the financial people who talk about how much the bond will cost our community.
Okay.
So if we go for different amounts of money, what it's looking like.
So you could go for a $30 million bond, a $40 million, 50. So, I mean, you could go all the way up. There's no number they can't ask for, but obviously.
Well, there actually is.
Oh, there is. Oh,
so
cool.
our community has a bonding capacity. And so a lot of times when you hear about school districts that go out for bonds every couple of years, they want to continue to grasp that bonding capacity. And right now we basically have no bond funds being used by our school district.
At all. Okay.
Our school district has a bonding capacity of give or take about $120 million.
Okay.
So that would be the maximum. And there's a lot of school districts in Arizona that max that out. We wanted to be more systematic and be more wise and be smart about the money we're spending here, that we're spending it on function, not fancy.
So you're going to have a group come in and they're going to basically take the board members through, if you ask for a bond for this much, here's how it's going to impact the tax burden, or the taxes that you get taxed on a home. So property tax and commercial property as well.
Yes.
So property tax. And they're going to say, if you ask for this much, it's going to cost this much per 100,000. If you ask for this much, this much. So it's pretty straightforward. And then everybody will know the numbers. No decisions being made on Tuesday.
Correct.
Okay.
And the board won't call for a bond on Tuesday. This is all for informational purposes. And the first people will be the money people to talk about how the bond would impact our community and our property taxes.
Okay. So after they do that, you're going to have another group come in. The next group's going to talk about why you're even asking for this money in the first place. And who's the first up?
So the first up, they're a company called Performance Services. And the reason we went with Performance Services is because they gave us a no-cost full estimate for all of our facilities.
Okay.
So they digitized all of our plans. They came in, took a lot of pictures, and they wanted to give us a better idea of what we were lacking.
Okay.
So that they could make recommendations to us. But really what is up for us is taking their recommendations, because they're telling us all the things wrong with all of our schools. And so as part of the efficiency piece of that we want to be efficient with the community's money and not add an additional tax burden that's unnecessary, we want to look at what is absolutely needed by our community.
Yeah.
We started looking at those numbers with our Superintendent's Advisory Committee and started looking, and some of the things we already are starting to have our initial discussions to pull off the top that we think are things that we don't need right now.
Right. So this is kind of interesting, because normally what people go is, well, what's broke. Yes, what's broke. But until you get a full inventory of what's working and what's not working, you can't really prioritize it. Otherwise it becomes like anecdotal prioritization. Like, I think that air conditioning keeps breaking. Oh, we should replace that one. But in reality, that one could probably survive from parts from a few others if they replace this different one. So that's basically what they've done for you, is give that prioritization, right?
Yeah, and a big piece of what we're doing right now is, so if we're talking about air conditioning units, we have 27 to 30-year-old air conditioning units all over our campus here. Most people don't have that on their house. They've replaced them long before that.
Right.
We have a great facilities crew. And, some people might ask the question, well, why haven't we done something sooner? Or why, how are our facilities in the state that they're in? And my understanding was the last bond attempt did not pass.
It did not.
And so what we've been doing.
And just a caveat to that, it did not. And a lot of people were complaining, well, they need to raise teachers. They're not talking about raising teachers' rates. And once again, it was a bond, cannot be used for teacher salaries.
Correct.
So, yeah.
And even those buckets of money that we get from the state are separated, where we can't use facilities funds. Yeah.
Right.
And so, I'm sorry, taking a step back. If we look at, the HVAC units, but it's not just the units that are 30 years old. And what we are in right now, we want to get in a preventative maintenance schedule, because it costs a lot of money to fix 30-year-old AC units.
Sure it does.
It's a different type of Freon, different type of unit. And not only that, when you look at the units, because what's happening is even when we're fixing the units, they have cooling towers, and the cooling towers are failing. And the cooling towers have metal pipes that have been up there for longer than 30 years, and the pipes are starting to corrode. So just when you fix them, you continue to have gunk rolling in.
Yep.
So unless you fix the AC system, the cooling tower, you're just putting a Band-Aid on that will only last for a little while.
So that's, you get these guys sort of categorized it. The next group in that's going to present is going to be, we're going to talk about transportation. Oh, facilities.
So facilities first.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm sorry.
Yeah,
so the bonding people go first,
that's
and
right.
So they're going to talk about the money. Then the facilities people are going to come with and talk about all the things wrong with our facilities.
Okay.
And that's why we're going through a systematic where I don't think all of the components on there are things that we would need to, ideally, it would be great to fix everything in the school and get it up to shape.
Sure.
But if we're doing that, they came with an overall facilities, just the facilities, of $48 million. And that doesn't address buses or computers, which we're desperately in need of too.
So then the next group is, like you said, transportation.
Is transportation. And part of the transportation is all of the buses were purchased in 2016 when we passed our last bond. And so they're all failing at the same time. What we want to do, once again, is get into a good schedule where we're hoping to pass a bond and then hopefully purchase 2 buses for a year for 5 years so that we can use the parts off the old buses to continue to fix some of our older fleet, but then have a new fleet, but then also have it good for the future. So 10 years down the road, even if we pass a bond, we're not buying 10 buses together. And then with the debt services too, with the financial guys, they talk about if you stagger out those purchases, you don't have all of the debt right at the beginning.
Right at the beginning.
So it's helping the property taxes along the way because you are not incurring all the debt at once. You are slowly incurring it. So
yeah, so don't dwell. Some people are going to dwell on, well, why did they do that in 2016? Well, everybody sitting here really probably doesn't know, and it probably seemed like a great idea in 2016 because we don't know what the condition of the other buses they were replacing was then. Maybe it was had to happen. Maybe they should have done 5 and 5. Woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Yep.
Okay, your plan moving forward is we're going to replace these two, so we can stagger them in and have that sort of staggered. Then you increase the amount of time they're under warranty, you increase the amount of time. Plus, you've got the other buses you can utilize to help service some of them, maybe not. Maybe you sell some of those.
Yeah.
But anyways, it gives you a lot more options.
Well, and I think there are certain, if you buy in bulk, where if you buy, all 20 buses at one time, there's probably a discount involved with that. So and the last prices were a lot different in 2016.
Sure they were.
I mean, we go to the store.
Availability was a lot different in 2016.
There was before this whole thing called COVID, which has pretty much changed the world. But, you go to the store price of eggs, you can get a carton of eggs in 2016 for $1 or $2. And now, I don't know, depending on where you shop and what kind of coupon, it's probably 4 or 5 times that. And that's everything in the world. So, there was more buying power probably to do it all at once. But we since we don't have that buying power, I keep going back to efficiency. How can we be efficient and provide a functional education for our students? So
air conditioning, facilities, transportation, buses, obviously getting kids. And then, of course, in the last few decades, we've had this new group that's got to be thought of, which is technology.
Well, technology.
Yeah.
And so when you talk about technology, and so it's just like our buildings and our buses, we have a lot of deferred maintenance.
Right.
So a lot of things that have been put off because the last bond didn't get passed. And so things are aging and things are starting to fail. And so what we've been talking about too is deferred maintenance is a lot more expensive than preventative maintenance.
Sure
it's a lot easier to stick an AC filter in an AC unit to have it run efficiently, and new stuff runs more efficiently too. So ultimately, we're hoping that this bond can be a net savings for the community because we can use our money. Because when we look at maintenance, that comes out of the maintenance operations, which once again, so when we're maintaining old equipment, that affects our employees' salaries. That, if we can put in an air filter versus getting old Freon and finding old parts that are a lot more expensive, then so it has an indirect effect on our employee salaries, our class sizes, and the quality of education. And on top of being functional within the classroom, it has an indirect effect on that.
Yeah.
So technology, our teacher computers, we're not even talking about our student computers yet. Our teacher computers are 10 years old.
Yeah.
Our connection
Anybody
points.
out there dealing with a 10-year-old computer?
No. And it's like a 30-year-old AC unit. Not a lot of us have 30-year-old AC units in our house. And our units are not just AC, they're HVAC. So around here we need heat in the winter and cool in the summer, and spring, summer, and fall. And on a day, it's Arizona. You might need heat in the morning and cool in the afternoon, depending on the temperature. And, and we try to have a fair range, and we ask our employees to be a little bit more comfortable than other employees across the state, and we don't, want them doing the toothpick and the AC unit and getting it down. So even our AC control units, but our Wi-Fi points, just so we can do state testing more effectively. There were a couple crashes on state testing day because we have an old infrastructure on that too. So ultimately, what I'm about is I just want our kids to have access to a great education. If their computers are crashing, if the bus isn't picking them up, and if their HVAC unit isn't, those are just basic things that I feel like a kid should have in a classroom, to be able to come in class and learn and deal with the regular stuff that most of us dealt with in school, and not no HVAC or no bus or no. And now everything's so computer based. So when I was in school, the only time I had computer time was to go to the computer lab and play Oregon Trail, where we were using the space bar to hunt deer and stuff. And, that's not the case anymore. And we're talking teacher computer. So everything, state reporting, attendance, grading, that's all on computer. And it's once again going to make our teachers' time more efficient, bring our teachers frustration so they can focus on teaching kids, because if their computers and the Wi-Fi is working more efficiently, then they can focus on doing their job instead of having job frustration because their computer, the Wi-Fi is not working. And
so keep in mind when you're looking at what they asked for in bond, they could use well more probably than the 120 million that's even available there. But I don't think you're going to go for 120.
No.
So if you look in the ranges, they're going to have this conversation. They're going to put all the cards on the table. And the community needs to come in and give some input. Okay.
Absolutely.
Maybe the community with more education, more understanding will be like, you know what? It's okay for me to give $5, $10 a month to help the schools.
Yeah.
Is that really asking a whole lot? A couple lattes in a month that you give up, you can make the school be like a lot better. So, thank you very much for doing any final thoughts there.
We don't want our friends at Pine Top Coffee to suffer because they have really good coffee. But, in a general number, if people can't make it to the board meeting, the average tax assessment value on a house in our neighborhood is $202,000.
Oh, yeah. Let's make that point real quick. If you're looking at your price and what you could sell it for, and then you look at your assessed value, they're drastically different, almost half, and sometimes a third of what it is. So it's the assessed value that's being taxed, not what Zillow is putting up that you could magically sell your house for.
Yeah, and not to steal the thunder from the meeting tomorrow night, but one of the slides is that the average assessed value on Zillow in our neighborhood is $450,000. The average property tax assessment is $202,000.
There you go.
And based on the $202,000, if you look at a $30 to $50 million bond, just in a nutshell for the people that can't make it, it'll be about $8 a month for a $30 million bond and $11 a month change on taxes for a $50 million bond over the life of the bond. 2
lattes.
So for, and some people have more expensive lattes than that. My friend I went to coffee with a couple of weeks ago he got a $12 coffee. And so that, you can support Blue Ridge schools for less than that.
Yeah, or guys at night give up a beer once a month. Boom, you're good to go.
Especially at the D-backs games. They're more expensive than that. But
there you go.
But it's something, and it's reasonable. And we think strong schools will make strong communities because there are kids that we're producing, and we want to be able to produce a good student into our community that our community's proud of, good people. And so hopefully these things will help us with that mission.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Superintendent Roloff. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Birdman.
Hey, that's going to be it here for Birdman on the Mountain. Remember, if you have any questions, you can reach out here. The Blue Ridge Unified School District will have all these stuff available after the meeting tomorrow. And then, of course, ongoing, if you have questions, just feel free to reach out, and we'll see you around town.
Thank you.